can't wait for these Irish fans to get out here because those guys are nuts. It's going to be great.
Well, apologize if there's any issues with the audio. We had technical difficulties, but we're rolling. Is Ken Flo here today? Joyce is asking us. No, Ken Flo isn't here. He should be here. Ken Flo, anytime you want to stop by, you can. Anyway, we're going to do a preview for you guys tonight. I'm all sorts of fired up. Because of the technical difficulties, we had no time in the pre-show, which I love because I have all sorts of stuff that I can't help but ask you stuff as soon as I see your face. You know, it's like I didn't even get to say what's up because of the technical difficulties. It's like, dude, I'm so excited to see you. You're in Vegas. So people have to understand. It's like when Conor McGregor competes, it's different. It's like I've been to a Super Bowl. It's like a Super Bowl weekend. It's just a different vibe, you know. So you're there, you're not going to the fight, like, right? I mean, it's like it's tickets for this thing. It's bananas.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's funny because I was here for Conor's first fight with Dustin, when him and Dustin fought on the undercard before, and like you could just tell it was a different type of energy. Like the Irish fans right after his fight were going nuts in the hallway of the arena. They were just throwing beer and everything. It was crazy. But even now, like I was getting breakfast earlier today, and some guys like, "Oh, Blum, what's up, bro?" And he's like, "Hey, you're going to the fights?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm here for Joe Rogan and Dave Chappelle." She's like,
right.
"Oh, me too, man. Like I could not get tickets to this fight. It's crazy, man. But I'm still gonna be here. That's all I wanted. I just wanted to come to Vegas just to be in the area to feel what it is to feel a McGregor fight." I'm like, it's a different type of energy when he fights.
It is, and like I'll say to John, like talking about, I'm like, so Belal, you know, ranked welterweight fighter can't get a couple of ducats to the ball game, you know, and John's got all sorts of people asking him for tickets. You know, it's like people do not understand. It's like a Super Bowl ticket. I mean, I'm not saying the prices are like a Super Bowl ticket, but there's nothing like this. And you know, John gets a pair, and by virtue of being in the womb with him, I get access to one of them. You know, so I'm flying out tomorrow night. And I'll be in the building. I cannot wait. There's just nothing like it. I saw him fight Khabib. It's nothing like. I saw him, Khabib jump over the octagon. I mean, dude, nothing like it. Nothing like it. So anyway, we're gonna go crazy talking about that. However, I have to apologize because I have to start here. But I know I might have to wait 2 days. But any rumblings about Belal Muhammad's next opponent, or do we just have to wait 2 days?
I think we're waiting 2 days. We're going to see what happens with this Wonder Boy Gilbert fight. Hopefully one of these guys does something outstanding where they get the title fight, and then we get a little more clear route. Dana White earlier this week said Kobe's for sure getting it. But like I said, there ain't nothing for sure unless the contract is signed. So I'm very interested to see. Like I said, Usman wants new blood. So I think if Wonder Boy wins, and it's a great fight, it's a great win, I think he could take this title fight. And then we'll see what the top of the division is going to do because they have to fight somebody. So I'm hoping we get more of a clearer picture of what's going to happen after this weekend.
I think we will, and I think you'll be hearing from your boy Ali next week. I would think. So certainly we're going to get to the card. Last week we talked about a lot of the other fights that are on this card, and obviously we'll get to the co-main event and the main event. It's kind of nice. We talked about some of these other fights, so it's like we can beat up these main event and co-main event because there's so many angles. Happy birthday, Belal. Exactly. Happy birthday, Belal.
Thank you, brother.
Tomorrow, July 9th. So first of all, you need to make sure Rogan knows you're going to be in the building. However, and maybe it's tough to get on his radar, but Rogan would like to know that you're going to be in the building with your face hurting tonight, from smiling.
Well, how about the fact, what kind of beat that you got to get for Belal? His birthday's tomorrow. You still can't get a ticket? Like,
dude, right? I'm not going to send an email.
Come on. The guy looks way better than, look, I'm a Machine Gun Kelly fan, and I would rather have Bully B in the building. I mean, come on.
I hear you. Hey, while you're on the screen, Cody.
Oh,
Cody.
I'm coming.
Oh, see, he's gone. Cody, how's the audio?
That's
Not good.
you're asking the wrong guy. I mean, you want an honest answer? You want me to feel good? Like, as the producer, I got to make you feel good. As the director, it's not great.
Anyway, early start time. Bilal's connection's good, and that's good. So where do you want to begin, dude? There's so much here. I mean, I want to wait a little bit on the main event. I know we talked a little bit about some of the things on the undercard. I guess. So the one thing I want to ask you about.
I got some people asking for the welterweight fights on the prelims.
Okay.
There's some two exciting ones. We got Max Griffin against Carlos Condit.
Yep.
And Michelle Pereira against Nico Price. And
Yep.
we can start with those guys.
Beautiful.
In my division. I mean,
Love it.
we'll start with the Nico Price one. I like that one a lot. Nico Price has been out a little bit since that Donald Cerrone fight where it was a draw. Pereira, this guy's nuts. Both these guys seem like they're crazy, so I think it's gonna be one of those explosive fights, especially on the prelims. I think that one basically comes down to who's gonna fight smarter. We saw Pereira his last fight a little bit smarter against Chaos Williams, shoot a couple of takedowns, and we saw him in his earlier fights against Conley where he lost fights for being like too crazy or trying to put on too much of a show for the fans. And when you're fighting on a Conor McGregor fight, you know a lot of people are going to be tuning in. You know a lot of fans are in the crowd for that fight. So I'm wondering if this guy's going to come out, try to do even something more crazy. And it's you're in the point stage right now where you're on a 2-fight winning streak. You got to keep this streak going. You got to keep winning.
Absolutely.
Like, you don't want people to just think you're a circus guy. Like, you got to go out there for a win.
Loud and clear. So any lean, or we got to wait for the Bic?
For this one, I like Nico in this one. I just feel like he's fought a lot tougher competition. He's fought some of the best guys in the division. He looked good in that Cerrone fight. So for me, I think that he brings a lot more to the table than Pereira. Pereira brings some explosiveness, some dangerous things. But I think if Nico gets past that first round, Nico can win this.
Well, I got to jump in here because, I mean, Nico Price plus 130. Like, Michel Bejedas went out there and looked like he should be a plus 800 against people before. Like, he went out there against Diego Sanchez and looked like he doesn't belong in the UFC, which is tough to do. So, there's some welterweights out here that'll brag about beating Diego Sanchez. They'll post like, oh, this was 2 years ago. It's like, come on, bro. Like, come on.
Yeah,
so you like
exactly.
The dog too.
I didn't know that was the odds on that one. That one's crazy. Yeah, I'm definitely picking Nico with those odds.
Well, you're not a gambling man. You could place a wager if you were. So we'll move. So moving along. So, dude, we touched on Condit a little bit. But that fight. I mean, did you see Condit at the press conference?
Yeah,
killer.
Yeah, he looked like a little killer, right? I'm like, all right, he's starting to get that little itch back. You can just tell. I mean, this is where we'll really see where he's at because Max Griffith's still a young up and comer on his way up. Kind of his last 2 fights were against like Court McGree and Matt Brown, were kind of like at the later end of their careers. So we'll see now if kind of can compete with these younger guys, young up and comers that are still out here that still want to get into the rankings. These hungry guys that there. He's fought a couple guys that been in the UFC for a while. Both of those guys, McGee and Matt Brown, they're like staples in the division, and he beat those guys. So we'll see what he does now against another hungry up and comer.
Well, you gotta love Carlos Condit too, sitting there on the mic, just so deadpan, which makes him more scary. He's just like, I'm here to fight. I'm gonna tear somebody's fucking eyes out if I have to, and that's what it is, and that's what it's got to be, and just excited to be here. And you're like,
yeah,
okay. Meanwhile, but then on the other side, or we'll get to it, I'm sure, you get a guy like Greg Hardy who's 6'6", 280, and he's up there like. Oh, I'm going to smash Derek Lewis. And if I ever see Derek Lewis, he's getting smashed. I'm like, that's a big guy. Like, that's a
dude. He was using some fancy words. I'm like, all right, he's out here.
He's on his Stephen A. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, Greg Hardy. All right.
But you know what's interesting about that, right? And I didn't even see it. But we talk a lot about promotion. We talk about Rob Font, who needs to promote himself more. And it's like, bad press isn't always the worst thing. It's like Greg Hardy, who obviously has bad press in his past, real bad press, and for good reason, but was an NFL player. It's like he's on people's radar. It's like we're talking about, when you sort of run your mouth a little bit. Granted, I think he's going to lose Saturday night, but that's a different story.
That's one of those, like, where Greg Hardy now he's starting to put his name out there talking about Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis first started talking about him after he won Contender Series, and he's like, this guy was sitting there talking about me, and all I did was win Contender Series. Like, if I sat there right now and started talking about guys that are winning Contender Series, people would be calling me a bully. How come nobody was telling Derek Lewis that? That's what he was trying to bring up, and like, he's putting his name into the mix now because if Derek Lewis wins this title fight, all right, well, now there's a little bad blood between him and Greg Hardy. So if Greg Hardy can get this win Saturday, then hey, now there's a storyline there. He's being smart, he's planting seeds. I like that he did that, and like you said, like. Now day and age where you have to do those things. You have to plant seeds. You have to be on the mic talking. Because if you're just sitting there like, well, I'm just going to have a great fight Saturday and yada, 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 nobody's going to remember it. And kind of like what's his face was bringing that up. Chael Sonnen was bringing it up with Wonder Boy where, Bisbee was bringing it up where he was like, Wonder Boy's calling for the title shot, but he's like not really calling for the title. Like where he's like, oh, I think I deserve it, but it's like you need a little animosity. You need to come out there and say you deserve it. You need it. Like you want that bad. Like it's not like, well, Kamaru hasn't fought anybody else that are in the top 5 and he's beating everybody else. So like when you think about it, I deserve it the most. And I mean, he's a great, nice guy. Obviously, we don't need him to curse or anything like that or like say anything stupid, but like, want it a little bit more.
I hear, well, and it's like Kayla Harrison, former Remember the Show guest. I mean, she talks about she's going to get nasty and stop being nice. There's different sort of avenues to play. But anyway, sounds like you may lean toward Hardy a little bit here. Am I wrong?
I mean, I don't know. I just thought I was watching the Embedded and I seen Tai Tuivasa just talking about, man, where's the pool party at? I was like, all right, this guy's just worried about the after party. He's not worried about this fight. But honestly, Greg Hardy looked good his last fight. The early rounds, he was looking decent, and then he just got taken to the ground. For this fight, I don't think that Tai Tuivasa is going to be trying to take him down. It's going to be a lot on the feet, and I just think he's a little bit more athletic and more explosive than Tai Tuivasa, and he's a lot bigger than him. So I think it's going to be a great stand-up fight, and we're going to see some new tools from him because like he's still young in his career, and he's getting better every single fight, and he's showing us something new every single fight, and especially with his stand-up. So I'm excited to see what he brings to the table now.
Well, and I think the real winner here is going to be the fans. But I brought this up because this is Tai Tuivasa's record. And the reason I bring it up is because I was just on the phone with one of our sponsors for the Anik and Florian podcast, Canadips. Go follow Canadips out there. Quick, short, free plug. But
hey, think the Anik and Florian podcast. So if Canadips want to sponsor us, we'll give them a shout out.
Yeah, well, we got a sponsor plug coming later in the show. Don't worry, Bilal, I got you. But so I bring this up because he was like, oh damn, like Greg Hardy's fighting this weekend, like he's really like made it as a UFC fighter, like he used to be a stud NFL player, and it's crazy to think that he's fighting Tai Tuivasa, who right now is unranked. But if you look at this past history of fights, imagine if he had fought after Arlovsky, like when he was ranked. I mean, Tai Tuivasa at one point was almost a top 10 ranked fighter. Greg Hardy's getting a close to top 10 ranked, I would think, talent opponent here at heavyweight. A huge step up, I think, in opponents, but so has Greg Hardy done in the last, 2 fights with Volkov, being a huge step up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and he looked good against Volkov. It wasn't like he didn't get outclassed in that fight, and that was a short notice fight. So, like, for me, I think that he's still one of those guys where, like, when you play in NFL, you have to have a certain type of athleticism. You can't make it to the NFL without being athletic or being crazy. So, like, for me, I think that he's one of those natural athletes that's going to get better every single fight, and he can compete with these top guys just out of athleticism, because that being a heavyweight, athleticism, you need that the most out of everything. So if you're one of those athletic heavyweights, that means a lot more than anything else.
And to become a Pro Bowl NFL player, there's some level of discipline, whether it's in the gym, whether it's, what I mean? He didn't get to the NFL solely on, he has some work ethic to him too. And John has been crystal clear to me that ever since he met Greg Hardy, in terms of it was all about mixed martial arts, right? Isn't this guy like staying in the dorms and top team down here and, just like tunnel vision, so, really trying to change things around. Look, it's interesting. I picked Tuivasa. I mean, hard for me not to root for Greg Hardy and sort of watch that play out. So this guy likes the value on Hardy. Anyway, so I wouldn't mind moving to the co-main event. If there's other ones you want to touch on, we certainly could. I will say, it's interesting how, O'Malley's on the main event. He's opening the pay-per-view. Is that right?
Yeah.
I believe. So it's just interesting for this kid, Chris Matino from, and I know you said your boy had an opportunity to get this fight, but it's like, not only, do you get this opportunity, right? No matter how big a dog you are, but you're on a Conor McGregor pay-per-view on the main event, at 10:05 or, it's unbelievable.
It's funny because I was just talking to somebody about it because they were like, what does Sean O'Malley have to gain from this fight? I mean, Sean O'Malley, he says people are telling him it's a lose-lose situation, but honestly, it's not, because in the end, you're a prize fighter. You're going to get a big check for this fight, and it's going to be the same amount of check that you would have got for fighting Smolka. And I still think he should have upgraded it. He should have got a better opponent than Smolka anyway. But I feel like the UFC now, they know how many eyes are going to be on this fight. Sean O'Malley has that personality that they want to build up. They want him to be a pay-per-view guy. So I feel like they want him to go out there, do something spectacular, get a great knockout. You do something like that on a Conor McGregor card, people are going to be wanting to watch you. They're going to be screaming your name. And whether people could say that he's trying to bite Conor style or anything like that, dude, I feel like he still has like his own spin to it. He's not a Conor copycat, but he's still a great fighter. You know, people can hate on him all they want, but this guy got great stand up, great striking, great jiu-jitsu, and he has knockout power, and he's small, and he knows how to talk. So, I mean, I don't know why this guy has so many haters.
Well, and I love Mutino. I don't know if you saw him in the embedded, but he's like signing the It could not have been more Massachusetts if he tried. He's got like backwards snapback on and like a tank top, and he's like, yeah. So I was at my mother's and I got this call, and they were like, yeah, you're going to the UFC, and I was like, well, shit, kid, let's fucking go. And I'm like, this guy is the best represent. Like his name looks like he's straight out of Brazil, though. He's like. You're like, oh, the South African Chris Matino, and it's like, nope, he's from Fall River. It's Matino, actually.
I love it, dude. Well, so that for me, like, I'm looking forward to watching. I didn't see that, so he's got full Boston accent. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, he's super Boston.
Bully B, #1, Uncle Dave Zilla. Bully B, #1 analyst in the MMA business. All sorts of love for our host Belal Muhammad out there. All right, so can I ask you about this Ryan Hall fight? Because Kenny Florian, right? So I've never met Belal. Remember the name Muhammad. I'm gonna meet Belal tomorrow night on his birthday, and crash the party. But John and Kenny haven't seen each other in a few years. Kenny's cornering Ryan Hall, so you certainly know more about these mixed martial artists than I do. Ryan Hall's a 2-1 underdog. I'm sure Kenny and Ryan are confident that they can get the job done. I don't know much about Poirier. He's a pretty big up and coming fighter. Talk to me.
I like this fight a lot. This is my sleeper fight of the night. I'm excited for this one because Topuria is undefeated. He's 11-0, and he's good everywhere. He has a really good ground game, but then his last fight, he showed us that he has stand-up too, and he has great stand-up. And I like the way he's talking about Ryan Hall, where he's like, oh, he's not going to do those weird spinning kicks to me. Like, that stuff's trash. Like, saying that Ryan Hall's stand-up is trash. And Ryan Hall is one of those guys where it's hard for him to get fights. He's been out for 2 years just because of his style. He's kind of like a Damian Maia, where guys are so afraid to fight him, because he's such a specialist in one area that you can't look good against him. So it's like you either go out there and you're able to defend his takedowns and be spectacular like Belal Muhammad, or you're gonna go out there and get tapped out within the first minute like Ryan Hall did to BJ Penn, and you're thinking that BJ Penn's one of the top jiu-jitsu guys in the world, and he got caught with a leg lock because Ryan Hall's 50-50 guard is next level, and a lot of guys don't use that type of guard because it's dangerous. You know, it's one of those you have to be a fearless in doing that because you're leaving your face open for punches, and a lot of guys don't really go for leg locks in MMA, but this guy's so good at it. And now we're seeing with his stand-up, even when he did against Darren Elkins, he was throwing spinning back kicks, jumping knees, kicks, everything, just because you're not afraid to go to the ground. He's kind of like when I talk about Oliveira, where Oliveira's ground game is so good that he could sit there and be on his feet and throw jumping knees, jumping kicks, and be more wild with it, because if they shoot on you, take you down, you want it to go to the ground regardless. But for me, man, this one's gonna be a toss-up, because Topuria, he got really good ground game. So I'm interested to see if I want to see it hit the ground. I want to see these two on the ground. I don't want to see a knockout. I want to see these guys tussle a little bit on the ground, see where it goes from there.
And Hall's undefeated too, right?
I think Hall has one loss on the Ultimate Fighter
exhibition.
Okay. Though, yeah.
Well, the craziest thing about that fight is I hope that we can get the commentary cam, because they're going to have to do it. You know, it's going to be mid-second round, and they're going to have to, like, Joe's going to bump John because he's going to be sitting there just like, man, like Kenny Florian's hair looks so good right now. And they're just like, they're like, hey. They're like, we're going to fight.
Exactly. Hey, it's the fan in him. That's okay. It's okay. But, you know, for Hall, it's nice for him to be on this card, even if it's early prelim or whatever it is, because he has just I can't even remember the last time. You know, it feels like forever.
Yeah, like guys like that where they take 2 years off. They're like he's obviously always in the gym, so he's gonna bring new tools to the game. But it's like, what else could you do? Like you go out there, you're supposed to win. You know, he gets finishes, and then guys are just afraid to fight you just because your style, like you can't look good against a guy like that. And it's such a dangerous fight, and it's not really worth it unless this guy has a higher rank. So for this fight, I mean, both these guys are super tough, and I think whoever wins this fight needs a big name after this.
I agree. So we got to move to the co-main. Let's just get into it, man, because there's so much I want to get into here. So All right, so we got Ali's guy, Gilbert Burns, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Is it still plus 126, Stephen Thompson? You know, I was thinking, and I know you're not a gambling man, Belal, and Cody, I'm sure you'll have an opinion here, but to see Gilbert Burns with a plus by his name, you know, he won 6 straight before he lost to Usman. And you also, you know, you have to have McGregor now with a plus by his name. You just don't see those types of things. The co-main and main event, this could be the main event easily. I'd be probably just as excited. So anyway, your boy Ali's guy. So to me, right, for Stephen Thompson, right, getting Gilbert Burns right now after the Usman loss, right? I mean, you're gonna get as tough a Burns as you can imagine, right? Everyone says Stephen Thompson toughest opponent for everyone in the division, right? So I'll ask you. I mean, is Stephen Thompson? We'll start there. Is he the toughest opponent for everyone in the division?
I honestly think he is. You know, just because his style is so unordinary. You know, you don't have guys in the gym there that have that type of style. You're gonna have to bring in guys, specialists, that bring that karate style, and it's still not gonna be that Wonderboy style. Wonderboy still has like his own specific style to him, and he has great takedown defense. He works with great wrestlers. He's just good everywhere, and like I said, he's that nice guy. Like you can't hate. And then just when you had that little animosity, it brings that little more energy to a fight. But when you're going against a guy like him or like a guy like Damian Maia, that you respect these guys a little bit too much, and it's just a different type of fight. And even with Gilbert Burns, man, just watching both these guys in the embedded, like Gilbert Burns with his kids, Wonderboy with his father, man, they're like the two nicest guys in the world, and they're just so likable. It's just so funny that these two are fighting each other.
Well, and I got to be honest, and people might not want to hear this, but there are a lot. You're in that group too. You know what I mean? There are a lot of you guys. There are a lot of really good guys, and it really is interesting. And the dynamics are fascinating because a lot of the animosity dissipates even between guys that aren't the nicest guys. So for Burns, certainly this is not news. I know. To me, it's like it's hard for me to envision a scenario with him. I know he's great on his feet. It's hard for me to envision him winning this fight if it's just upright. So are you with me? I mean, do you think Burns absolutely must try to make this grind it out on the ground, whatever he can?
I mean, it could go both ways a little bit because we've seen Wonderboy get hurt by a guy like Tyron Woodley where he brought in that overhand right and it was explosive. And Burns has a big overhand right. And the fact that Burns has that jiu-jitsu, has that wrestling, everybody thinks that he has to get it to the ground. So obviously Wonderboy's probably thinking about the takedown as well. So if Burns comes out there, feints a little bit with that takedown, makes him think a little bit about it, then he reaches down a little bit, then you can catch him with the overhand right. So it can go either way. Like a lot of people are thinking it's jiu-jitsu against karate, but man, Burns has great knockout power. He knocked out Maia with a left hook. So he has power in both hands. So I just don't think the stand-up's one-sided. But if it goes to the ground, I think that will be one-sided. If it hits the ground, Burns is one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners in the UFC. And Wonderboy really, we've only saw him on the ground with a couple guys. I mean, he got out of that tight guillotine with Woodley, and then Matt Brown pretty much controlled him on the ground. But other than that, we really haven't seen him hit the ground hard with the jiu-jitsu guy.
Well, and obviously Anthony Pettis did catch Wonderboy, and Wonderboy actually, there was a footage of him sort of watching that back, and he was just like, oh, which is pretty funny. But I love watching how guys sort of react to losses. So whether it's Corey Sandhagen sort of talking about some of the mental stuff, which I know I talk about him all the time, but it's fascinating to watch Wonderboy sort of watch that back. For me, even on the feet, I find sometimes, even if I think a guy like Burns has great stand-up, and yeah, he could certainly catch him. Pettis, he can be caught. But you get in there, and then it's like, oh, you just can't get near him, right? It's like there are things that just happen where it's just like, oh, he just can't get near him, right? And maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe he'll be able to sort of get in close, and but I think that can be sort of a challenge where even if it's not necessarily one-sided on the feet, Wonderboy is just so tough to locate.
Yeah, exactly. And especially with this being in the bigger cage now, it's going to be in the big arena. So you got a lot more space, man. There's a difference between the Apex cage and the big arena cage. Like you get an extra 15, 20 feet. And that's a whole lot of space right there, especially for a guy like Wonderboy, where he likes to stay on the outside, uses push kicks, uses kicks. And I saw you put up that 3 right now, 3 rounds.
Yes.
Wonderboy could do that easily all day.
Exactly what I meant by the 3. See, I don't need a good mic, Cody. I'll just hold up 3 fingers. My boy knows what I'm talking about. Hey, Cody, can you join us on the screen for a minute? Oh, they say you're looking to fight the winner below. Hey, what's up, Cody?
What's up? How's it going?
So in terms of the co-main event, I'd like to know if you have any thoughts on it, and then I'd like you guys to pick it.
Well, so as Belal was speaking, I was having in my head a little debate because I think the recency bias of what Gilbert did against Demian and then against Tyron is clouding where I think the odds should be on this fight, because I think it should be a little closer. I think Burns has a much better chance than maybe the odds say, but the recency of him having the stand up against Demian and then against Tyron makes you think he's this knockout guy. Not a big knockout guy. Most of his big wins at welterweight are decision wins. Gunnar Nelson, 2019, being the main one that comes to mind. But I do think what Belal says is right. Like, you're going in there against the best point fighter in the UFC in a big cage. Also a huge veteran where they're both veterans, yes, but Gilbert does get a little more emotional. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is always composed. That I think could be a huge factor, because the last time Gilbert fought, like, his emotions got the best of him, and that's why he ended up losing. Like, if he was more composed, like, you could argue he could be the champion right now.
And I think he's very likely to be more composed, and that's why I think it's as tough a Burns as you'll get for Thompson. Because I think when it was so clear that he wasn't in his mind and sort of in anyone watching it. But the odds makers agree with you, Cody, because the line certainly is coming closer together, and I think by fight night it could be even closer.
Well, in my pick, pick, I guess I got to get it in now. I think Gilbert is going to win, but that's more because I think father time, like the time off, at some point it's got to catch up with Wonderboy. Like, he's not getting any younger, right? And I think this might be Gilbert's, all the, as you said, the emotion, but also playing with the emotion that could give him a leg up. So Gilbert.
Love it.
Yeah, for me too. Like you said, even people forget that Gilbert dropped Kamaru. He had Kamaru rocked in that last fight. Like you said, he got emotional with it. Man, if he would have just stood up, like, he was trying to play the guard game, thought Kamaru was gonna put down in there. Like, he wasted 2 minutes, let him get his thoughts back underneath him. Like, I mean, that's one of those fights you're gonna regret for the rest of your life. But I think that for him to take this fight, he has to be hungry. He wants to get that title fight right back. He had the title slipped through his fingers. So it tells me that he's working hard. He brought in specialists for this. He's not one of those guys that just said, "Oh, I don't need to bring in specialists for Wonderboy." He brought in a specialist for this. I think that Gilbert's doing all the right things, and he looks good. He looks in the right mind frame on the embedded. He looks like he's happy. He brought his kids out here. They're sitting there playing top golf. And when you're comfortable fight week, you're relaxing with the family and everything like that. You're not stressed out. I think it's gonna be a Gilbert Burns fight to win right now.
I love that you guys are both picking Burns. For me, honestly, I really don't even know who I'm picking, and I don't even know if I'm going to go to the window. It's interesting for me. John and I talk about gambling, but to me, it's like I don't need any action on these fights. I can go. I don't even know what I'm going to do. The one thing I'll say though is, like, and I said it sort of last week a little bit. It's like Wonderboy is. He's going to get a title shot if he wins this fight.
Yeah,
right?
I think he has to. To me, I think he has to. And a lot of people just said, who do I want to fight the winner? Obviously, I think the winner deserves the title fight. The loser probably makes more sense to fight me if none of the other guys are trying to fight. So I would also do that. But, the winner for sure. I think especially if Wonderboy wins, he deserves it. He earned it. I said, he's on a 3-fight winning streak.
But let me play devil's advocate. If he goes out there and point fights Gilbert to a boring win, if he goes out there and does what Dariush did to Ferguson, he's not getting a title shot, period. Like, that's just not going to happen, in my opinion.
I mean, obviously, but I don't think that this Gilbert Burns is not going to let that type of fight happen. Gilbert Burns is one of those guys. He's not going to beat a boring fight. Gilbert Burns comes forward hard. He tries to knock your head off, and then Wonderboy needs that type of guy to come at you because he's a great counter striker. So if he has a guy like Gilbert that's coming at him trying to knock his head off, Wonderboy is going to try to hit you harder.
But to me, things can be unpredictable. So in a 3-round, 15-minute fight, if it goes to a decision, if it doesn't do enough for you, Cody, no disrespect, man, but right, or the fans, it's like, to me, if he gets the job done, if his hand gets raised, I don't care how he does it. I think he deserves a title shot, and that's what I want to see as a fan: is the toughest guy for everyone in the division face the champ if he wins. And we also know that if Burns wins, he's not he's not facing Usman immediately. He's not, right? So that's why for me, I love me some Gilbert Burns, and Ali's team and all that. I love both these guys, but for me, I love the guy that has the opportunity to sort of really legitimately deserves the shot. Like same thing with sort of Poirier. It's like Poirier deserves the fight for the belt. I'd like to see him get done for that reason, you know?
When you want to know who I love, well, look at this video. You guys ready? You're going to laugh like really hard at this. So this is our friend Booger Beard from the Remember the game show.
Hold on. I can't see this. There we go. This is.
He's strolling Vegas. Look at that.
I love where's Seek? I mean, this is just
Seek's taking the video.
I'm sure.
It's on Seek's account.
So let's jump to that for a sec. So Seek got introduced to Booger Beard on Remember the Show?
Yeah, they both literally got introduced on a show. Booger Beard hit him up and said, "Yo, I'm bringing you to Vegas with me. We're gonna go to these McGregor fights. We're gonna have a great time." And Seek's like, "Man, is this guy serious?" And I'm like, "I mean, what do you got to lose? If he's buying you the ticket, go out there." And he's like, "All right." And then he got the ticket. They're out here, and I'm like, "No way!" And they were like, "Yeah, where you at? Let's meet up." And I'm like, "After the Joe Rogan show, maybe I'll meet you guys up." And they're like, all right, for sure. And I'm like, "Okay, all right." So one of us may be arrested later tonight.
Right. So
one of us. Bilal's taking an angle on me.
No, dude, you know what's funny? I was literally playing basketball. I was playing basketball 2 nights ago. And it was I was playing with some adults, and then there was like 2 15-year-olds playing with us. And then when you're like a 15-year-old kid playing with adults, you have like a different type of swag where you're trying to be tougher to show them that you belong with the adults. And then this kid hits me with like an elbow on my chest. And I look at him, I look at my boy, I'm like, "Dude, if he throws another elbow, I'm gonna hurt this kid." And then he tries to shoulder bump me, and I'm like, "Am I about to go to jail for hitting a little kid?" I was literally on the edge of like this calf kicking him and just walking out. I was like, I don't know what to do in that situation. I was like, "Dude, I'm done playing. I'm not even playing no more. Because if this kid elbows me again, I'm gonna hurt him."
I hear you. And those of us who are trying to protect the professional athlete, Belal Muhammad, right? Did you see the video of Mahomes balling back in the day?
Yeah.
Right. And then the Chiefs are like, no, right? But I'm an old man, so when John and I go at it, it's like someone's getting hurt. I got a decade on you, so I'm like exactly 10 years older than you. Anyway, so for Seek Rambler, right? So he probably flew him out there. They're staying in the hotel, so they're going to the fight. I assume is that?
Yeah, they're going to the fight, the press conference, the weigh-ins. They're going everywhere. And I think that Booger Beard was talking about he's getting like a tour bus where they're gonna go to every single show. Any show that UFC has, and I was like, really? I'm like, this could be interesting. That could be like the new tap out guys, that type of thing where
I hear you.
You see them every show. The UFC even starts bringing them up, and
dude,
maybe it could be a good thing.
Well, and when he came on our show, like he's legitimately funny, like your cousin Tarek. By the way, did I pronounce that right? Tarek, is that? Yeah. He's funny.
But anyway, you want to know who else is legitimately funny is our man Belal Muhammad. And you know why he's legitimately funny? So I asked Belal, I said, do these prompts, for the UFC outfitter Venom. I said, do these prompts and, I added some funny questions. Well, I didn't think it was a funny question, but Belal, of course, made it a funny question. So I'm going to cut to that right here. Here's a little sneak peek from what we did for Venom.
You couldn't hear me laughing during that, I don't think, right?
No.
Oh, dude, you missed all my cry, dude. That's unbelievable. I love it. Has he seen that?
No, not yet. We literally just filmed it yesterday. He put that question out there, like, bro, I gotta go hard on this one.
Dude, see, and that's the thing, right? I got asked on this one interview I've ever done in my life with John. I got asked on this interview about your videos where you're throwing something off your crock, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which were very funny, but me with social media, right? Like for me in social media, I'm just going to put it out there. I'm a working man. I'm a little bit busy, right? So for me, when I go on social media, like first thing I do, looking up your account, seeing what I got to keep track of in our world, certainly look at my brother, but I have to sort of like make sure I take all this stuff in, so yeah, follow me and hassle me. But my brother gives me a hard time about not posting anything. Anyway, so we got to talk about the main event. We're doing this preview.
About that.
So Mero, main event odds, if you will. I want to see that plus by Conor McGregor's name. Please. So anyway, so in terms of the main event, right? Joe Osborne from Oddshark. I know I talk about this guy a lot, but he's on the Anik and Florian podcast before the pay-per-views. And everyone has their takes on these fights. And on the first fight, the odds were much different. Conor was a heavy favorite, 2.5 to 1 or whatever it was. And he liked Poirier in the first fight, as you did, and as many people did. But so a lot of the points he made on Monday on the Anik and Florian podcast are the same points he's been making for months that I just agree with. And this guy puts it better than I put it. He talks about Poirier just being more durable. Right now, keep in mind, he's handicapping this fight, and we'll let you go on this, but he talks about durability first and foremost in terms of just Poirier being a more durable fighter. I agree. And he talks about sort of McGregor having sort of a very small blueprint to win the fight, meaning, whether it's a flash knockout or whatever, he doesn't necessarily envision a 5-round grinded out victory for Conor McGregor. So anyway, he goes on to make some other points, and it's one man. That's his handicap, though. But what's interesting for him, but then he goes and says, I'm from Canada. GSP's my favorite fighter, but McGregor's my second favorite fighter of all time. Like, he loves McGregor, right? And that sort of kind of sums it up for me. I don't care who. I love McGregor. McGregor's great for the UFC. If he's going to go compete for a championship, but I would love nothing more than Dustin to win the fight and get the championship. He could have competed for the championship. He took this fight, understandably, right? But I don't want him to lose that opportunity for undisputed. So there's a lot of sort of takes on it, but ultimately it's hard for me to envision Conor winning if I'm being honest about predicting it. But I'd be thrilled for either guy. I'll be quiet now.
Nah, I mean, it's a crazy fight. It's gonna be a great fight. I think a trilogy fight. I mean, a lot of people are coming at Conor with like, oh, he's coming up with all these excuses now, kind of, where he's saying now that I was thinking too much about Pacquiao that fight. And he just doesn't seem the same way even on the mic. Like he's sounding weird on the mic. Like he's not the same old Conor who was just had so much wittiness to him, where he was just like so smooth on the mic. I mean, that doesn't really play into the fight game effect, but I feel like he's trying a little bit too hard now to show that he's back to the trash talking Conor.
Yeah,
I just don't think he cares as much about it, but he knows that everybody thinks that if you're the trash talk Conor, you're the old Conor. I think he's trying to go back to that Conor, but you're not that Conor anymore. You're not the old Conor. I mean, you have money in the bank now, so you're not that same hungry Conor where you're trying to get the attention of people by saying the most outlandish things. But also, this is not the same old Poirier. I mean, Poirier got a big check his last one, and people are not bringing that as a fact. When you get a pick, that was probably like a 6-7 figure payday. Who knows if Poirier is training as hard? I was just thinking about that, just putting it in my head, like, this was his just first big payday that he had in a while. And obviously he wanted this rematch because that this payday would be even bigger. But when you have that type of money coming in, are you training as hard, especially when you just knocked him out? Kenny
Florian and Ray Longo went totally agree and talking about sort of the hunger, right? And John is somewhat, and look, none of us know everything there is to know about what's burning inside of McGregor, but John really just can't get out of his head that McGregor cares deeply about his legacy, his mixed martial arts legacy, his UFC legacy, and really wants to sort of, get the belt and have these opportunities to really, and another thing too, in that first meeting, or not the first meeting I don't care about 7 years ago, but back in January, McGregor almost won the fight, just like Michael Chandler almost won the fight against Oliveira. You know what I mean? It's like so where's the narrative? So I do believe there is some real deep hunger in some channel. Whether he can get in touch with that or not, I don't know. So anyway, the idea, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Your points are very well taken, and what you said about him at the press conference really impacts me, and I didn't see it.
Well, and you know what the best part about that is? Belal came in and just gave him the...
Okay. You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay. Are you? Absolutely.
You're going to get arrested for this?
Arrested for doing what?
Absolutely.
Just like a pimple on the left. Somebody says something and you don't like it.
Belal is sitting there watching the Stephen A. Smith interview, just like, you're not that guy, Conor. You're not that guy, pal.
Yeah, I feel like he was just trying a little bit too hard to try to go back to the old Conor in that interview. And honestly, I just hate Stephen A. Smith interviews.
Well, that's the thing.
He doesn't watch MMA. He doesn't care about MMA. And like, He can say whatever he wants. Like, I know I watch all these sports, but you're not.
Now let me tell you something, brother. Let me tell you something, Belal. I'm a good-looking dressed man just like yourself. And so that means that we can talk on I actually love Stephen A. Smith being a part of the broadcast. I'm totally in the minority. I love it. I think it's great. I think people bitching about it are the funniest thing. It's like you're sitting at home on your couch and you're mad that he is like elevating our sport. He's got 5.4 million followers, guys. Like if anyone can name any other MMA guy that can go and have 5.4 million followers, then like by all means, like let's use it. But I think it's good for the sport. I mean, what he says is nonsense, but you have to know that.
Well, and that's certainly one part of the conversation and undisputed. But for me, I didn't even watch the interview, but Conor McGregor, and look, Helwani's going to interview him. I know I like Helwani. I don't know what the problem with Helwani is.
On a Zoom call, and he couldn't even get the echo out of the damn thing. So you can't even, it's the same, like, I'm afraid to leave my house and do an interview.
You know, the thing for me, right? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, it's going to be interesting to see with a full building of people in Las Vegas what the energy is like. In January, correct me if I'm wrong. Was that? I should know this. So there was not a full audit crowd in January, was there, when they fought?
Was it that?
No, it was like a limited. It was like a limited entry thing. I think. I'll look up what the numbers were.
I should know that, but that's a factor in my mind because. I don't know, you know, Conor McGregor. It's going to be electric.
I thought that was Abu Dhabi.
It was.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it probably was. So I'm probably misremembering. But anyway, it's going to be bananas. I wish we could get Belal.
The attendance was 2,600 for that show.
Oh,
it was
really?
In Abu Dhabi. It was like one of the private prince shows.
Oh.
And also too, if you're talking about the hunger. McGregor, that was more of the spectacle. He came in his yacht. That this will feel a little more normal. But hey, I'm I'm picking. If I have to pick, I pick. So are you guys gonna pick? I know. Let's go.
I mean, for me, obviously, Conor McGregor has that left hand, and if he lands that, you could go to sleep. We saw him land it in the second fight, and he hurt Poirier a couple times. So, but it showed that Poirier could take a punch a lot better at 55, and we've seen Poirier being wars with Hooker, being wars with Holloway, and he's taking these punches a lot easier.
Not everybody.
Yeah, he hasn't gotten finished except by anybody but Habib, and that was just because of rear naked choke. And that was his only loss, I feel like, out of his last, 8 or 9. So for me, I think that, like you said, durability is a big thing, and if Poirier gets past that first round, obviously, I think Conor McGregor in all his fights, he withers in the later rounds, so if Poirier could be smarter in this fight, go with another game plan, take him down, play the long game of not just trying to finish him early. But it literally goes back to what's in Poirier's head as well, because you just finished Conor McGregor. Now maybe you're thinking, I'll finish him again a lot faster. Maybe I'll give me a big name boxing fight against Pacquiao or something like that. You got Max Holloway talking now. He's the best boxer in the UFC. So now everybody knows how much more money's in boxing and all these guys are talking about it. So maybe Poirier's going to be like, well, you know what? Let's keep it standing. Let me knock you out on the feet again and show you that I got better hands than you. I don't know. I got to see where Poirier's head with this. I got to hit him up. Who got his number?
Yeah, exactly. It's a legendary Remember the Show former guest. For me, Dustin, there's just so much to gain from getting a victory here. And look, he was well documented on the interim championship thing on our show and compared how Gaethje treated it. And look, Dustin Poirier changed my opinion a little bit on interim belts in that moment, but he had an opportunity to compete for the undisputed title, and he chose this fight over it. And so if he doesn't win this fight, you've got to think he's going to have to win another fight or two to have a chance to compete for that belt again, and I would love to see Dustin be able to compete for that belt.
But if Conor loses this fight, is he done? Is he done? There's nothing you can sell off that now. Now you just lost 2 times in a row, and you're not a big pay-per-view seller anymore. Obviously, he still has
only
name,
one.
What does he do now for himself? You can't
There's
be the
one,
big trash talker when you just got knocked out twice. You do the trilogy fight with Nate Diaz, but it's not going to have that much hype. So now you're just that guy that's just in the game a little bit too long. Now, so Conor needs this fight. He needs this win right here. So he knows how important I think this win is more important for Conor than it is for Dustin, because Conor is basically done with if he loses this fight. Dustin, all right, we saw him come back through the trenches again. And he's that type of guy that'll do that again. He'll win a couple more fights and be back in the title mix again. Conor, if he wins this fight, bam, he's back. Now that Pacquiao fights back on the table. Now Canelo fights back on the table. Now title fights back on the table.
There's no way the Pacquiao fight can't be on the table because his man. So the only reason Pacquiao was really on the table was because Paradigm was going to manage Manny, but then allegedly, I'm saying that don't hit me with a libel suit, Paradigm, but Paradigm loaned Manny like $3.5 million, and they're like, yeah, like we're going to manage you, we'll loan you this money, and then Manny was like, nah, you ain't getting this money, and you're not managing me. So I don't think that they have great relationship with Manny. I don't think that that's on the table either. Maybe a Floyd rematch, but like you can't sell that off a loss either. So he was bashing the Paul brothers, which maybe he shouldn't have. Maybe he's thinking 3 steps ahead. That's why he was bashing the Paul brothers already. But
yeah, I mean, it can be, like I said, like everything comes with a win, though. Like he needs this win, and like fans will throw you under the bus easily after a loss. They think you suck after a loss. So you're gonna start losing those fans. The same way when I think a guy like Masvidal, where he's on a 2-fight losing streak now, so he has to be very smart in who he picks next for this fight. Because you lose 3 in a row, then now all those big money fights are off the table. Now you're not the big draw anymore. Nobody really cares about you. Even now, kind of when it showed him at AEW, where not a lot of people were he didn't get the cheers that I expected him to get cheers when they showed him yesterday at the wrestling event. So I'm interested to see what kind of cheers and attention he's going to get now in Vegas, because coming off a knockout loss like that, like I said, fans are ruthless in this game, and they think you suck after one loss.
Well, and I agree with everything you said about McGregor. For me with Dustin, and this is just a purist thing, right? I wish that there would have been a world where he could have said that Conor McGregor fight will be there down the road. I'm going to compete for the belt right now. That's what's sort of bothering me, where I that would be really hard for me to swallow if Conor wins the fight. But I agree with you. Conor's done. That light bulb is dim in the Ultimate Fighting Championship if you lose this fight. It just is. But yeah, that Nate fight, regardless of how dim that bulb is, that Nate fight is still enormous, because McGregor is it's just a different level. He's a star like Belal Muhammad. It's just there's just a different.
But even that fight is capped if he loses, because you can't do Diaz McGregor at Raider Stadium after they're both coming off losses. Like you just can't. As a promoter, you could, but like,
well, right. See, you say
McGregor's out here talking about doing Raider Stadium for 155, and like. I don't know about you, but if I'm Dana in the promotion, I'm like, I don't know if I can headline Raider Stadium with Charles Oliveira. Like, I can do it with Conor versus I could probably do it with Conor Chandler. I can't really do it with Conor Oliveira. But
you can't? If it's you don't think Conor versus Oliveira? No.
Maybe. Maybe. It depends where the international travel is, because you would expect a lot of international people to come in for that, right? Ireland, Brazil, anywhere really. Internationally, I'd wonder where the country is, like, where the world is at that point. But I talked to somebody that looks a lot like Jason, and he said something that really resonated with me. The second fight, Conor came into it and he was just giving off happy to be here vibes. And it like that rings so true to that second experience. I felt like he really did give off just like, yep, happy to be here, go in, like, let's fight, let's have a good scrap. Like, that's what he was talking, like, let's just have a good proper like spar or whatever. And it's like, this is a fight, bro. So I like the motivation and the attitude that he's coming in with this one. And that's why I'm leaning Conor. I think Conor's going to knock him out in the first or the second round. I think he's going to come in and try and prove a point.
Yeah, I'm leaning toward my man, Dustin Poirier, RTS champion.
I'm not the one with the 65%, pick rate. So like no one's coming here for my picks.
Hey, I was 100% on the main card last 2 weeks ago, guys. So
people
all
sleeping.
you haters, I don't even think I'm gonna do the circles this week, just because I wanted to come out here, watch the show, our picks through here.
Well, so that's what you do is you put up the post without the circles, and then when everyone's like, "Yo, what are your picks?" and after the fight, you're just like, "What do you mean? Like you couldn't see them?"
Exactly.
Like
what? Or hear them, right? You don't gotta watch. You can listen now, right?
You know what?
That'll be
this week.
That'll be one of the classic. One of those classic Belal Muhammad videos with the really low volume when he's like, all right, guys, so here's my picks. Like, you're going to have to listen to this entire It'll be like 55 seconds. And he's like, I think Poirier is going to win. You should have watched my show later.
Yeah. So you might be hunting Sikh Rambler and Booger Beard out in Las Vegas. I won't be. I'll be steering clear of them boys. You could be sure, because they look like trouble. But anyway, dude, I'm looking forward to meeting you in person, giving you a post-COVID hug tomorrow night on your birthday. Happy birthday. So is there any chance you're flying out Saturday morning, correct? Or Saturday?
Yeah, Saturday morning I have to fly out. Also, another big reason for that is because I have to corner somebody for Bellator next week.
That's right.
So
that's right.
I got to fly out Sunday morning from Chicago. So, yeah, I just threw off my whole week. Otherwise, I
Well,
would have been in the golf course. We would have been chilling out here.
Yeah, exactly. Working on that southpaw swing, that lefty swing, right?
Yeah.
Just watch out at the buffet, Belal. Like if you're at the buffet and you hear anybody chanting like USA, you just like make sure you're looking around your back, watch out for the welterweights out there.
Yeah. But anyway, dude, I'll meet you tomorrow night. Bottom line is you deserve to go to this fight more than me. And, John's boy, best friend from college, always joins me on these. It's almost like those tickets literally have our names on them for these big sort of fights. It's just how it's gone down. But, Belal Muhammad might have to slide. I mean, how great would it be if I could be like, hey, Belal, I got you. Like, I got you, right? I gave Belal Muhammad a ticket to this UFC fight, right? And Mr. Mero might deserve a ticket at some point too, Cody Mero. Anyway, so any final words, Belal, to get us out of here tonight, sir?
Man, just excited for the show Saturday. I can't wait to, T-Mobile Arena's back with full crowd. I want to be outside right now, feel this energy from these people, feel the energy from the fans. It's going to be awesome. Do it.
Well, I know that walking around in Las Vegas for you right now versus, let's say, a year and a half ago is probably different, right? Right? You're pulled to the side all day long, right?
Yeah, but it gets a little bit weird, when it's sweaty outside and people want to come up to you and put the arm around you. You're like,
right.
Oh, your armpits are sweaty right now. Well, relax.
Exactly, right? In a COVID world, you could get away with. So, you throw a mask on, just, you scoot right through there. I've just been with situations where John is like, put a hat on and let's go, just because you want to get on with your night. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. Enjoy the fight Saturday night. We'll be back next Thursday, hopefully hearing more about Belal Muhammad's next fight. Enjoy the fights. Cody, thank you as always. We're out of here. Later.
Stop, boys.